Good morning. So in continuation with our interior design series of how to wow your patients with Mitra Silva, I'm giving you a bonus podcast and video interview here with Mitra, and we're gonna just cover the Q&A section. So it's rapid fire, shotgun approach, your questions answered all day long in the next 30 minutes. You're gonna not wanna miss it. So don't forget, if you want the bonus material, email welcome@simourdesign.com. That's SIMOUR design.com. So lean in and listen. You're not going to want to miss this Q&A session.
Ready for Q&A.
Wonderful. Well, we have a number of questions, and the first question that we are looking at is leasing length that is really out of your control. That you don't own the building, you're not planning to buy the building, you don't have the funds to do it, it looks like. But the question is, how important or what's the limited term I should be signing on a lease if I'm investing in design?
So really, really good question. And actually, this is one of the questions that in the first consultation we ask our clients, okay? It depends if you're a startup or if you're like into your practice 3 to 4 years. It depends on the specialty and everything else. But overall, my recommendation, the longer you stay in the space, minimum at least 5 years. And if you can do a 10 years lease, it's fantastic, because building your reputation, every dollar you spend is very intentional, unless like after 3 years, you want to go buy your own building. Planning it that way, I think we even ask our clients, if you're signing a lease for 3 years, we're not gonna even we don't want you to spend so much money on the building that is not yours. But if you're leasing it and you're comfortable, and a lot of our clients, they do leasing because they're looking for a good location. They know if they want to buy a building, they're gonna do different type of investment, okay? And always 10 years, the longer, minimum 5 years, but the longer that the lease is better, they can get a better TI allowance, which is a tenant improvement money from the building, or they can request for free rent until the construction is done. So they have more leverage through bonding or binding the agreement and the leasing process. And then the money they spend, it has to be very intentional. So if you're not in there for 10 years, why you have to spend something that, you're just going to move out from it. And also for the patient and building the patient portfolio, it's better to stay somewhere longer.
Wow. And the next question is from smart spending in critical areas. Where would you advise, if you have a limited budget, where should I be working with you to do some smart spending? And is it just weird in design-wise to design 1 or 2 rooms if I can't design the whole thing? Should I just forget about it?
So my suggestion is, I don't know exactly what the budget is, but if there is kind of intention about refreshing, always a paint color, it refresh and facelift the entire space. So I can name and they can choose. I would say number 1 is paint. Number 2 is the furniture and artwork. Number 3 is the lighting. Lighting, because it costs more. Otherwise, it would have been number 2 for me. Lighting is very, very important. And choosing the right lighting is really important. The temperature of the lighting, what that means is like how yellow and how white that is. We usually love the light fixture and the lighting temperature that is like 1 or 2 p.m. sunlight, which is 3,500 Kelvin. That's the measurement. So if they buy light bulbs or the LED lights, they ask for 3,500 Kelvin. And so that would be another thing. If they can just quickly change their light bulbs or update that, lighting is important as well. And then everything else comes next. You can really renovate your lounge area and your restroom and leave all the exam rooms. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you can do it in layers. You can change your floorings and paint the walls and some artwork and furniture if your cabinet looks good, because the moment you touch your space, whatever it was old is going to look more old. And if anything else that is updated, if it's beside paint and some furniture and artwork, it can be blended.
Another question that's come in: are current reception areas or lobbies and waiting areas too big? What's your thoughts on that? And should we be minimizing those and putting in more walls in that waiting area, it sounds like, and increasing the space of an adjoining room?
So that's a really good question. Actually, we have some projects with that challenge too when we starting a project. So because when the building is older, the old-fashioned way allocating a big I'll call it waiting room because that's the old way of doing it. But for the lounge area, if you have like, I don't know, the sufficient size of it, if it's like 500 square feet, 300 square feet, you can add it to the other room. Either you can do it as a calming room, which is the patient can go to it after they checked in, they sat in it depends on the practice. If you have med spa, if you serve them anything, or they have to do something extra, or there is a consultation, or you can just remove the wall or add a wall to the next room. I think that's something that we usually do as far as like expanding the other areas next to the lounge area.
The next question that has come in is what materials protect against the spread of infection?
So in that presentation, in that slide, I put it, there's some ways that it's possible they can do it. There's some like a kind of a linear stripe of LED lights that it's called clean UV, and it's very it's safe for human even it's on. So it's a very new technology. So there's that can be installed under, like, I don't know, under the cabinets. There are places that it can be hidden, but still like it can spread at the lighting. That's one of them. The other thing is about the door handles. There's some protection for the door handles, because that's a place, if you don't have gloves, or it's just more of being in contact. The other thing is about like really creating the sanitizing stations throughout the space, but do it nicely with care. Sometimes you want to like get a tray that is beautiful. You put, alcohol pads or hand sanitizer or gloves or like face mask. You do it. Actually, Lululemon started doing that. So they have a whole tray. When you walk in, they have it for you, even though if you don't have to have your own mask. That's the extra care. That's the patient experience.
And another question has come in about inspiration. And I think you had mentioned, Lululemon, and what are some other brands, maybe inside of healthcare or outside of healthcare, that you're inspired by, that others could be inspired by, and where should these physicians and maybe their spouses who are assisting them with this, then they're the lead designer, are getting their inspiration, and what advice or cautionary concerns and comments do you have for them?
Sure. First, just give the design to an expert. That's the first cautionary thing, because it's not just about the decoration. Back to the design, it's about the flow. It's about knowing and create an expert. Be surrounding yourself with an experts, from the architectural to the design and everything else. But as far as like inspirational, one of my favorite brand is Hermes, Hermes, the Hermes brand. I believe they did a really good job for the last 100 years. They're kind of an old brand from Paris, that they put their messaging very well together, their color coordination. They know exactly who they're targeting. They never sell too hard. They always, position themselves for their client or their customers to say, I want you. So that's something, one of the, like, or Lululemon or Apple. Apple is another one. Like when you go to Apple store, it's so simple that you can't help it by just feeling great to be there, because it allows you or enables you to feel fresh and open. Always, if you see in our website, less is more. Less is more. So that's cautionary thing. Less is more. It doesn't have to be a lot of accessories and furniture and a lot of spending a lot of money on different things. It's about simplicity.
And we have a number of great questions that have come in over this topic. And one of them has to do with an Apple iPad. And really, what is the function of the iPad? Is it for intake of forms and information on behalf of the patient? Or is it to replace magazines that are germ and bacteria captures?
Sure. So there are three things. There are three ways to use the iPad. One of them can be filling out the form or, going through it, or if they already filled it out, they're just getting their e-signature, and then they clean it, they hand it to them, like the team can do that. The second thing is the magazine that you mentioned, if they would like to, they request it, or they can ask that the team or the receptionist can ask them, like, would you like, to just have an iPad, just sit down and, enjoy the time that you're waiting. And the third thing is about like asking them while they're doing their paperwork, they ask some questionnaire, this can be a very intentional understanding. It depends on the practice. If the practice is more in aesthetic or it's in dental or some sort of specialty, there's a company that we work together that they create these apps, the questionnaire, that they answer, do you like black car or white car? Do you like this or that? It's a very psychology question. So as soon as the patient gets to the exam room, the doctors knows exactly what kind of character they're going to deal with. So it can be an intake tool to serve the patients better with the psychology question.
Well, another question that's come in is how important, and this looks like it's a twofold question, how important is the offering of a beverage as well as the design of the restroom? So two questions in there.
Yeah, the first one is absolutely an amazing attitude, or kind of a saying we care, with offering water. Okay, as simple as water. I don't know right now, especially with COVID, with like drinks and everything else that is open, just a small bottle of water that can be like wrapped in napkins or anything else. That's like a very extra touch, which is very inexpensive, but it's just that extra care. And second thing is, one of the top focal point of ours is restroom. Restroom is the place that you get your undivided attention of your patient. So especially with women, we all check out the restrooms. That's why the hotels and the hospitality, they spend a lot of time, money, and energy and design into the restroom, because that's the place that the patients really you can capture their attention and you say the message, we care. This is the design that we put in.
And we're going to come in for a landing here with 6 more questions. I know this will be our lightning round. And our guest today is Mitra Silva. She is the CEO and founder of Simour Design. You can look at her beautiful designs and offices and work that she's done at simourdesign.com. You see it right there. But as we come in for a landing here, how much does the exterior of the office play a role in creating remarkable experiences for the patients? We've seen many designs that are great once you walk in the door, but you had no idea that this hidden treasure trove, this treasure chest of a doctor's office was hiding behind this door inside of this terrible looking building or drab hallway.
Mm-hmm. It depends. If they do their branding and marketing right, because everyone nowadays look at Instagram, Pinterest, they tag each other, they're looking at the rating, it can be a winner. But if there is a budget, not all of our clients, they have the luxury to own the building so they can do things exterior wise. We have some clients that they bought their own buildings. If there's a budget, absolutely. But I would not make it a big concern, honestly, right, because you can just absolutely rock it with like really good rating, care, and people find you. There's a restaurant that is in New York, and it's a Japanese restaurant. It has no name. You cannot find them online. It's only with word of mouth. And they're booked for weeks and weeks and weeks. So just understanding that concept, that be the creator of the raving fan. To me, that's more important.
Wow. And our next question is New World floor plans. We'll just title that as kind of the 6 feet social distance floor plans. How much, given your design experience and working with several different types of specialties in healthcare, how common is this? How long will this last? Is this something that is going to last for a few more years, you believe, in the design world? It's going to be starting to be incorporated into offices. What's your thoughts on the social distancing in New World designs?
So I wish I had a good answer to say it's going to go away or it's not going to go away. I don't have an answer for you, but what I can tell you, the clients that we have, that they absolutely created trust with their patients and they know how to do the scheduling, they don't have problems. So when the patient comes, they sit down as if like they go anywhere else, right? So they sit down, and the simplest way to not just renovating or anything else, reconfigure your furniture very fast. Invest into good furniture, or if you have a good one right now, just make the distance out of it. You can look at that floor plan that I put on, and automatically patients would not sit next to each other regardless. If you create that trust that they care and that your scheduling is really good, and also you as the leader of a practice, as a doctor with your team, don't make a big deal out of it, because it's not about the fear, it's about inspiring. Inspire your patients to be there and want you, and that should not be a problem.
Our next question, and we have a couple more questions, is when the patient arrives, and how important is it that they continue to stay productive if there's a continuous waiting? Usually there's a 20-minute wait. How important is to create an area where that patient can still remain productive while they're in your office, not just sitting there?
Very important. I personally experienced that a lot, and I have a very high standard, and my time is extremely valuable, and everyone else that time. If you're dealing, again, knowing your demographic, going back to the beginning, okay? If you're dealing with woman center and all of this, you have to know how to keep them engaged. Okay, engaged doesn't mean to continuously and consistently entertain them. It's about like every 5-10 minutes going to them. I apologize, we're on our track, we get you. The best thing is, like I've seen it with our very successful clients, they approach the patients, they sit in their lounge area, and then they move them to the exam room. And if you have as a doctor, they have the space to make it more step by step. If there's another room that you have to make it more like a calming, not meditation room, but it's something that is like more calming, that you can take him there, that if you know the time and the wait is longer, it would be great. Other than that, just by keep checking in and have that human connection and letting them know what's happening. It's very important.
And our last two questions from Mitra Silva, the CEO and founder of Simour Design, is we haven't really talked about staff in our Q&A, but you did mention staff and caring for staff. And that is the most frustrating part, it seems, for many physicians, is managing staff. And you want to, with a redesign, you're considering their needs, but you also have to recognize that this staff person may only be here for another 2 years, or this is a temporary staff. And is in one of your designs, and it can change from design to space, but is if we are trying to move away the staff in the call center area where they're returning calls, making calls, validating insurance benefits, so on, how important is that to remove that from the front of the office and put it in another portion of the office, maybe away from where patient care is being done? Is that caring for the staff still, or how do you reconcile that with the physician and their staff that you're working with by moving them to another portion of the practice to say, we care for you enough to put you in another portion of the practice?
So I believe there's two parts to your question. First is like, how do I even get the right team, right? And am I even listening to the team that I'm not 100% sure that if their feedback is very useful, right?
Correct.
And the second part of it is where should the positioning of the team in order or in relationship with the patient experience, okay? So I'll answer the first part. The first part is if, for example, because creating a practice, it has two parts. There's a medical expertise as a doctor, and it requires an entrepreneurial part, which a successful doctor is an entrepreneurial doctor, okay? So you have to understand, and you're responsible as a doctor to educate yourself in that regard. But it's not about the doctors doing the training and the hiring. Hire a consultant who's really good at hiring the right team. That's number one, okay? When your vision is clear, your mission is clear, you invest the money, you get someone who helps you as a consultant to hire these people. And you set your expectation that you are committed to create a world-class team. You're not going to settle for anything but the best. The best comes to the best people. So first, it comes from myself. If I want to have an amazing team, I have to walk my talk. I have to do the hard work, okay? When it comes to putting the team or how to navigate through the space planning, it's a number one important thing is acoustic when it comes to patient experience. Okay, one of the number one elements. Take all of the noises out of that area. The calling, the checking. If your team can do it ahead of time, do it. Right now, everyone has phone. They can take a picture. They can email it, and they can like do whatever I know for the HIPAA appliances and everything else. There's so many different software and systems to get a lot of this ahead of time. And check the insurance and everything else. It's about how you're setting up your system and put, as far as the space planning, put all of these noises all the way in the back, all the way in the place that your team is comfortable to make a call. You know, they come and walk to the patient, say, okay, everything is done. If they have questions, they can go back to them instead of like keep going back and forth and there's 3 other patients is sitting and there's COVID, everyone's fearful, they don't want to talk to each other, there's masks, there's all of this happening, okay? So instead of fearing them and you be fearful, be inspiring. You know, that's as simple as that. Some doctors right now have a luxury to go and do the revamping and changing things around. Some they don't, but at least have that conversation and set yourself for success and plan it ahead of time. And yes, to answer your question, put the team in the back, put the noises and phone calls and everything else in the back area of your space.
Absolutely. And I think for many physicians listening, as we are here at the end, you're probably wondering, well, what determines whether or not I need this? And I think that, you know, there are probably a number of questions that these physicians have that are listening and thinking, well, I think that the ultimate litmus test or barometer for them might be the idea or the concept of, if a patient came in and took a picture of your practice today and posted it on social media for their friends and community of business owners and your patients, other patients to see, would you be embarrassed by it? And if the answer is, yeah, I wouldn't want that to happen, or, well, I have a sign on the door that says that no pictures are allowed, then that might be a sign that maybe you need to look into interior design and getting some assistance from this. And so there are so many things. Do you have anything you want to add to that, Mitra?
I want to add to that to me and the way we design with my team, really honestly, I would not be concerned about other people's opinion. I would concern about what kind of experience I have on a daily basis inside my practice. Yeah. When I walk in, do I feel like, oh, I'm in the amazing place? Mm-hmm. Because we are putting our lives into this space and we're exchanging energy with this space. Then being concerned about whoever else is going to say. I think being intentional and being really connected about who I am and what kind of experience do I want to have, it becomes that golden seeds that everything else is falling to its own place.
Well, our guest today has been Mitra Silva, the CEO and founder of Simour Design. And the last item was, how do they get the bonus?
They can email us on welcome. I have it here, welcome@simourdesign.com. If they email us, we can either send the bonus as a PDF, or we can send slides in the PDF format and share it with them as well.
And talk to them a little bit about what to expect in the 20 minutes interaction with you that you mentioned at the beginning.
Sure. So they can first answering the design questionnaire, so they know what to expect. There is, I think it's going to take between 10-15 minutes. And also, when I see there's some placement for attachments, pictures or floor plan or some ideas that they have, or how, like some sort of information that it can be provided, then I can walk them through with asking and following that design questionnaire of like, what is that world-class space can be created? What is the potential of your space to be able to enable you to create a world-class space? So I give some tips, I ask some questions, and if I cannot help, I will make sure that I will guide you through the right direction. You know, sometimes you don't really require to renovate your entire space, okay? There's some website that you can just hire a decorator that is just gonna help you with the minimum amount, but at least you think about it. So when they come to the design consultation, my intention is to add as much as value, and hopefully to give you the clarity of what would be the best way to go to the next step.
Wow. Well, our guest today has been Mitra Silva, the CEO and founder of Simour Design, and we're so grateful for your time. Your expertise has been invaluable. You said something to me a few years ago, you know, when a patient sits in a chair that even cost $1,000, let's say, that patient, you've just made them feel like $1 million. And those types of things and that type of expertise has been invaluable for so many doctors already. And Concierge Medicine sets the example and sets the bar very, very high for others, as well as plastic surgeons, dentists, some. And so we're starting to see an element of behavioral design and neuroscience and design and interior colors put into healthcare that really take away the distractions that we have as patients. Because I'm not a physician, but I am a patient, and I know what it's like to sit on the other side of the exam room from a physician, kneecap to kneecap. And I know that, as any of all of you listening do, that there are so many distractions from walking in the door to finally getting to see my doctor. There's all of these things in between. And those things can be very distracting from the message of health and wellness that I'm trying to get to, that I'm having that communication between my doctor and patient. And you are very much helping and assisting in that process by eliminating distractions and creating an element that is creating great word of mouth for patients to keep them coming back again and again and again. And when a patient feels appreciated, they will do more than is expected. And so thank you so much for your time, your expertise, and what you're doing for doctors.
My pleasure. Thank you for listening.